everyone. My name is Dr. Hal Bradley. I would like to ask each and every one of you that if you enjoy these shows, please hit like, share, and subscribe after you view the show. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning, world, and welcome to yet another episode of the Crisis Victory Show. My name is Dr. Hal Bradley, and my co-host Pete Turner is floating around in the background somewhere. Pete, if you're there, pop in, say hi. There you go, brother.
I'm floating.
And today we have a really unique guest, Ted Scarlett. Ted's been involved in, well, I'm going to let Ted tell you his story. It's a really interesting one. And Ted, first I want to welcome you to the show and thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and you're in Victor Mojica's office. As you know, he's my lifelong friend and bestest buddy and real character that guy is. Yep, I can tell from your smile you know him.
Yeah, but I wanted to say I'm in a bunker in an undisclosed location.
Yeah, we're being safe, are we? I love it. Okay, well, listen, Ted, why don't you go ahead and give the audience a brief synopsis, if you will, of your background and the specifics of what we're going to get into today. Thank you.
Okay, well, my name's Ted Scarlett. I pretty much lived in San Jose, California, Silicon Valley, my entire life. I worked at IBM, went up through the ranks, became an IBM executive. I left IBM and I got into real estate. And then I was doing pretty darn good. Didn't realize how good I was doing. I had about 8 properties. And then 2008 hit.
Yeah.
After that, various things ended up, in court. I lost homes. And then trying to save my main home that I got when I was like 20 years old. And at this time, I'd been in it for 32 years.
Wow.
And and so there was a wrongful foreclosure on the house. I got involved, I tried to do loan mod and various things, but I ended up with an outfit out of Los Angeles. And this is where things really get interesting. And we're now gone from 2008 all the way to 2014. Okay. And so late 2014, I was fighting the foreclosure. This outfit out of Los Angeles has advised me. They have a lawyer on staff, and they told me that they reversed the foreclosure. And I also, after left IBM, I was in real estate, so I checked and I was back on title. And so then they further advised that I put my home in a trust. So they prepared a document, a quitclaim deed, and it purported to transfer the property from my name to my trust.
Okay.
While this was going on, I had been served a quiet title lawsuit by the guy that bought the straw buyer, Chinese straw buyer that bought that claims to have bought the house at foreclosure sale. And I was really winning. 9 months went by, and I thought I was on the way to winning this and fending off and saving my home. A judge got involved that hadn't been involved in the case. And I had just recently moved the case to federal court. There was a eviction case. So I moved both the quiet title and the eviction case to federal court. And this state court judge was holding hearings.
Well, what was the grounds of being able to have the ability to take it out of the state level and take it into a federal court system? Was because of the international buyer or what?
No, it was maybe not proper, but I had done it. And the fact is that once removed from the state court, the state court loses jurisdiction. And that's the key, is that
Right.
it's now in federal court. And this judge, by the way, they brought this judge in, and he was not even hearing these kind of cases at the time. And in fact, he was in the middle of a complex high-tech trial. So he was not available. He was not involved and couldn't be involved in these kind of things. And somebody in the court clerk's office got this over to him, and he had some hearings and made some orders. So I added his name to the federal lawsuit. He was served by U.S. Marshals on New Year's
Wow.
Eve. And now the magistrate in the federal court ordered him served by the U.S. Marshals, and it happened on New Year's Eve at the courthouse. And the marshals went down to the state court, and you know how they are. They walk in, they own the place.
You sure as hell they do. I know how they are.
So I had nothing to do with that, and I added his name to the lawsuit because what he was doing I felt was wrongful. I didn't know what else to do to stop this nonsense.
Yes.
And you asked me earlier what was the premise for moving to federal court, or why jurisdiction. I can't recall what exactly was my legal basis for doing it at this moment. But in any case, it was live and active in the federal court. So
Wow.
the next thing, I got an anonymous phone call, I guess somebody from the courthouse, and they told me that the judge had been served by U.S. Marshals, and that the person was telling me basically they were concerned for me, and that the judge was screaming and going crazy.
Of course.
And of course, I'm in my house and I'm fighting foreclosure. It's like you're like a cat on a hot tin roof. And so it took me a week or two, and I sat down and I Googled this judge, and I kind of freaked out what was being alleged about him. So I went to the FBI and told them, hey, you need to start watching this guy. Well, I don't think they did anything. And a few weeks later, basically I got swatted. I was at my house. The federal court had just remanded to the state court. And that was a notice electronically that I saw on my computer. And I was a little bit confused, but I stepped outside and got to the sidewalk, and out of the corner of my eye, noticed a deputy sheriff's car kind of stop at the end of the block. And then he kind of proceeded. I turned around, went back in the house, got my go bag. And luckily I came back out as the approximately 30 armed individuals were marching up on my house. And these guys they just looked like regular military. They had machine guns. They had armored plates the size of refrigerator doors. They had battering rams about 6 feet long, and they came marching up. And luckily I was in the open and hands free, and they just told me that they had an arrest warrant for me. And so
that's quite a bit of overplay, in my opinion. As you know, I used to work for the Sinaloa drug cartel. Spent a decade and a half of my life in a criminal enterprise, and I've been swatted, but it was for real in my case, because they do come locked and loaded. So as I'm hearing you sharing this story, I'm remembering and reflecting back. Mine all stem from a jealous husband who told them that I had a bunch of machine guns stashed on my property. And because I was out on parole at the time, even though I was working in other countries and coming back and forth, they still had to do a follow through. And boy, they hit me like a ton of bricks, slammed everybody down hard. And I mean, real hard. And then when they realized what happened, they went over and arrested the son of a bitch, because, so much was involved in the setting up, and especially someone such as myself that had a background history that stemmed all the way to the 60s around the drug cartels and all of that in that country. So my point is this: somebody set you up for a massive, and I do mean a massive approach, something that was probably not even real at all. Is that where we're going with this?
Yeah, because what in, afterwards, at the time, it's funny, so many times in my life, I've just instinctively done the right thing and said the right thing.
Yes.
But at other times I've said the absolute wrong thing. But they said they had a warrant for my arrest, and I immediately, okay, let me see it, and I'm standing there in my driveway. And so that person walked away from me. And then another one came up, and, we have a warrant for you. We have I don't know if they said that we have a felony warrant for your arrest, blah, blah, blah. And I said, all right, well, let me see the warrant. And at that point, that person walked away. A third person walked up, I was in cuffs at that point, and took me from the middle of my driveway and perp walked me. And if people don't know what that means, is they took me from the middle of my driveway, took me out into the middle of the street, and walked me back and forth in the street. Okay. Then they put me in a patrol car, a deputy sheriff's car. And by the way, I didn't mention the SWAT team, the San Jose police, and the sheriff's department were all there.
They were all present. So all local law enforcement was included with the federal level procedure, if you will.
Right. And
it's pretty normal.
I wrote an affidavit later and told in it, I stated that they were there to kill me. This was a setup. Yeah. And this was in retaliation for naming the judge in the federal lawsuit. And, the judge, he's being sued basically by naming him. He's becoming one of the defendants. And so that was total retaliation for that. And
Absolutely.
it was a setup to kill me. And what I didn't explain is the sheriff's department had come out twice before and removed me from the home on an eviction order. However, that eviction order was invalid because after the eviction case, they did get a writ of possession. However, I did an appeal, and the appellate court had given me a stay of execution. So to come out and exercise the writ
they should have been aware of that.
The key is that they knew how I acted the times before, which was they knock on the door, sheriff's department. The sheriff's department are the ones that do evictions. And so they had come up on the door. I told them through the door, do you have a warrant? No, pound salt. And so then they had a locksmith there, and they drilled the door lock, and it came on in and, put me in cuffs, but basically then let me go. So they expected me to do what I had done the two times before.
Right.
And this time, of course, they were going to blow the door down, and they were going to say I reached for something. That was the plan. Okay. And it's clear as day. And like I said, it's lucky that I walked out and was in plain sight in the middle of my driveway with my neighbors freaking out.
Yeah, but that was literally a life-saving moment. You are right.
Exactly.
They come in aggressively like that. They can make up any scenario they desire to make up. Yeah.
Right.
Good for you.
Let me backtrace a little bit and explain that a quitclaim deed is a release.
Yes, it is.
And it releases any interest in the property that you have.
Yes,
if you have none, it does absolutely nothing. At a later date, if you do acquire some part of the property or the whole property, whatever, then that release that you gave is in effect. But it does absolutely nothing if you don't own the property. Okay. And so
Well,
basically,
the quitclaim deed, I mean, that's your release of equity in the property. That's your release of anything to do with the property.
release of interest.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And they're commonly done between husband and wife
Yeah.
all the time in real estate transactions. You can transfer title that way. Obviously, the primary way is by a grant deed. But anytime people create a trust, that's how they usually transfer the property into the trust, is by
Yeah, Victor and I have used quitclaim deeds several times over the years of our relationship and dealing in real estate ventures. It's an absolute, but you know what? I would never reassign a quitclaim deed to somebody that I didn't know. That would be like really sketchy territory, because you're kind of out in limbo with where you stand on a logistics scenario regarding being able to retain possession of that property. When you signed a quitclaim deed, you've quit your claim. You've done it.
Right.
So how did that come to? What was the motivating factor to do that? Was that you or them?
No, remember, I after the foreclosure had been reversed, the firm in LA, they may have been a phony firm or whatever. I didn't know at the time. I also did my research and found that they had reversed other foreclosure sales.
So they had a history of success.
Right.
Like that. Okay,
right.
I get it.
I mean,
okay.
Don't go into this as a dummy. I really did check things out.
No, I didn't think you did. That's why I was kind of curious as to the procedure that you were entrusting them with the quitclaim possession of a quitclaim deed. Excuse me.
Well, remember, the quitclaim deed was from my name to my trust. So, and why you also do that? Well, one of the reasons.
No, that's right. That makes sense to me there. I wasn't putting that together, but that's exactly why Victor and I have done those similar things.
Right. And so one of the reasons for doing that was the firm said so that it will be easier for us to represent you.
Right. That makes sense.
We're representing. Yeah, it all made sense.
Yeah, it does.
I had no evil intent. So anyway, I'm sitting in jail trying to wrap my head around this stuff, and really for probably 8 months. I spent about 3 days in jail. I bailed out. The initial bond was like 35,000, but on first appearance they dropped it to 15,000. So there you go. We're not talking about the crime of the century here.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
They charged me with I forgot the penal code, but it's recording a false document.
Oh my God.
And as a felony.
Wow.
And secondarily re-entry after ouster. So that was a misdemeanor. However, that was BS too. Because
I've never even heard of that. That's interesting. Can you explain what that is? Reentry after ouster?
Well, after the sheriff's department has evicted you, so they've come out, executed a writ. If you go back in, then that's the charge they come with.
Okay.
Is a reentry
I got it.
after. Yeah. So again, I'm setting this up because this is really important to understand that there was no crime. And the next thing I want to tell your audience is, so I spent almost the next 8 years, 154 court appearances.
Oh my God.
And 20 drop dead trial dates before a judge dismissed this ridiculous thing.
Wow.
And
amazing.
It was all just to steal my house.
Yeah.
And to go back to the story now. So I sit in jail, I get out of jail. Now I'm homeless in the streets. Jesus. And, no money, nothing. I have no resources, and I'm freaking out that I had broken the law.
Yeah.
And I started going to defense attorneys, and they started their response was the same. this isn't a crime.
Yeah.
One prominent lawyer who's represented people in Hollywood and stuff, he said, look, normally somebody charges about $20,000 to represent you in this. I want $50,000. And it's because this isn't a crime and you're not going to prison.
Yeah.
But you piss somebody off.
Yeah. Never piss off a federal judge.
Well, he's a state court judge.
Yeah. No, I'm laughing about what started the whole thing on you, basically.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
it was this is a state court judge, and I added his name to the federal lawsuit.
Yeah.
So I started, I'll call it dieseling, they start making you go to a hearing once a month.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you think about 154 court hearings or appearances, what are they trying to do? They're trying to get me to slip up and miss an appearance so they can rearrest me.
Diesel therapy.
Right. They played all the games. 9 months in, I succumbed to a heart attack. And I walked myself into the emergency room. I hold the record for being the fastest ever sent into surgery because the cardiologist happened to be in the emergency room. They said we'll never beat that record again. Wow. Because normally we have to page them, they call, whatever, and it takes more time. So they rushed me into surgery and stopped while I'm in the throes of a heart attack. And so then 4 weeks later, there's another hearing in the criminal court. My cardiologist wrote a letter saying I was subject to sudden death. And that was one of the lines in there. He started out saying he's just had emergency surgeries, had a severe heart attack. He cannot tolerate any stress, not even regular life stress, let alone court. He is subject to sudden death. And the judge, Shania Brown, that letter was presented to her, and her comment was, that's vague. If he doesn't get out here right now, I'm going to issue a bench warrant.
What's vague about that, brother?
So then I get the call, Ted, you got to come in. And I was in the parking lot in my car doing what the doctor said, no stress. Yeah. So I walked in, they were holding the court for me. And there was nobody in the courtroom except my public defender and the prosecutor and the deputy prosecutor. And the judge was told, she come and took the bench. She started, it's just a routine. That's the other thing. This was just a routine here. So the judge paused and said she needed to take a break. She needed to go check loss. So she left the bench, and I could feel another heart attack coming on. And I told the deputy, I got to go to the hospital. The deputy went back and told her, the judge, in her chambers, and he came back out and he said, the judge says you can't leave. And then the judge came back. The deputy's looking at me and assessing the situation, and he started getting scared. And he goes, do you want me to call 911? And I nodded yes. He called 911. He then went back. He waited a few minutes after he completed that call. He put the phone back down, and he sat there for a couple of minutes, and then he got up and went back and told the judge. So what did the judge do? She came out, took the bench, recalled the case, and badgered me until she was clued in that the paramedics were in the elevator.
Unbelievable.
Now, while this is going on, she's badgering me. She's asking me questions. I begged for an aspirin, knowing that that's what you do.
Yeah.
And the court reporter was new. This was her first time working with this judge. So she was new to working with this judge. The court reporter was crying just from watching this scene. And the judge paused a couple times to console her. Meanwhile, she's killing me.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I'm following that. The insanity of that.
Yeah. And and so then the judge was told that paramedics were in the elevator. She ran out. She got off the bench, ran out of the room. So I was transported to the hospital by ambulance. And then, like I said, and that was just around the 8-9 months into this thing.
Well, let me ask you this real quick, Ted. How are you doing now? How is your health?
So. Again, it was almost 8 years, and 4 of those years after the heart attack, the first 4 years, I was a walking zombie.
Yeah, that's horrible.
And again, homeless, no money. And of course, I'm the guy that always helped everybody. So nobody got it that I needed help.
Yeah, I get that.
And so then, I mean, there's a lot. The story's crazy because I got a private attorney, so I got rid of the public defender, and the agreement with the private attorney was to stay with me through the preliminary hearing. And so then after the preliminary hearing, he signed off, and I started representing myself while I'm very sick.
Wow.
Okay. And so I gave him help. And several times I did motions that ended it. Okay. But they're so corrupt. Matter of fact, one motion I did for dismissal was so strong, the DA did not even dare show up.
Wow.
Okay. And then I, through this, discovered that these state court judges who are employees of the state,
Right.
It turns out that the county is also paying them. And so
there's the motivation right there for all of the extended hearings and the diesel therapy, so to speak, that you got put through.
They hated me.
Yeah.
But
they're making money, Ted. They're appearing. They're getting paid for this.
Right. And I brought up that that's a conflict of interest.
Absolutely.
The public defender works for the county. The DA is part of the county, and the judges are getting paid by the county. So who in the room's on my side?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so I went to county board meetings and brought this up. And how did I get this information? I did a FOIA request.
Yeah, Freedom of Information Act.
And
Great weapon.
And I got the information of what each judge was getting paid.
Wow.
And it's funny how it coincided. The more corrupt the judge was, the more money the county had paid them.
Unbelievable.
And
that's great.
I don't think they're putting this on their taxes. They're not disclosing it in their Form 700s.
Wow.
Okay. And it's fraud on the court.
Did you pursue that?
Yes. And in a sense, I'm still pursuing it because I filed, after this was all done and said, I filed a federal lawsuit for I've left out a lot of steps. One, they never had a valid arrest warrant, it turns out.
Yeah.
So right
there.
Well,
that's important.
Well, and one of the things in law, when you allege a false arrest, the burden shifts to the arrestor.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I said I beat them several times in court, but I had to file a federal lawsuit just to force them to present the arrest warrant.
Well, that answers my question that I had earlier, Ted. I was wondering all along why you transcribed this case and took it into a federal place. And now I totally understand why you did that. The initial prejudices, if you will, from each of the departments that are affiliated at a state level. You were beat 6 ways from Sunday. You had to get it out of that arena.
And what I did, I sued the DA's office for the warrant. I sued the DA one time in federal circuit. Now, all these cases were dismissed by the federal court, and the reasoning was they would not interfere with a ongoing state criminal proceeding.
That makes sense.
But I got a really good ruling from Lucy Coe, who was a federal judge at the time. She's now on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. She wrote a 9-page ruling and told me that it seemed that I did have some valid causes of action and to bring it back after resolution of the criminal case.
Interesting. I've actually heard her name before. I'm trying to catalog where I know that name, but she's Ninth Circuit Court.
She is now, yeah. And so what I failed to do, during this criminal proceeding in the state court, when I did the federal, I now know what I failed to do, because in Lucy Coe's writings, she also gave me a roadmap. Had I properly pleaded that it was urgent for the federal court to intervene, one, because at that time, this had been going on for 5 years.
Yeah.
I'd had a heart attack. They're killing me. They got themselves in a bind, and that's why they drugged this out for almost 8 years. They expected to kill me. They from the stress. They expected me to die and that all this would get swept under the rug.
You know, that does make sense to me. As you know, I'm a former state licensed private investigator, 17 years undercover for the Department of Justice, working with all kinds of alphabet agencies in all kinds of different countries. And I get it. You know, when they take people in that situation that you found yourself in, and they've got the controlling feature of that entire process, you're doomed. You're basically doomed. Look what they did to John Gotti's son. My God, they bounced him around in diesel therapy, which is in a bus, every day for years, moving that poor guy around. And in the end, after all of that was said and done, there was not a single crime he committed that they could tie him to anyway. So yeah, that's what you went through. And you're not the first, Ted, that I've talked to in my life that has been put through similar scenarios like that. And it's horrifying that our system can be aligned to do that to the civilians that are supposedly allowed to entrust a system. You can't trust nothing in those regards. And boy, once they get their claws into you, look what they put you through. Where are you standing now currently with all of this? What's the status right now today?
As I mentioned, after the criminal case was dismissed.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's a slam dunk. You're supposed to get paid.
I would think so. But again, it's all in the language of how everything was written up, whether or not you have beneficial gain there, because they can even block that. I mean, I've been in and out of the system my whole life, and it can be pretty corrupted, let me tell you.
Well, I filed a federal lawsuit. It ended up in San Francisco. It was before Judge Breyer, which is the brother of the Supreme Court judge that retired a couple of years ago.
Oh, interesting.
And
interesting.
The county came, and so I sued the DA, 2 deputy DAs, and the sheriff's department, and maybe there were a couple other people. The head of the public defender's office. And I'll back up for a second. So after I represented myself so well, they forced a public defender back on me. And so that was to keep me from filing papers and stuff. And how did
they force that? Excuse me for interrupting, but I'm curious.
It's totally illegal.
Yeah, I don't see how that can be done. You have the right to have your own representation, but they were able to do that.
Yeah, and they had found me competent.
Did you hear that, folks? Do you hear this? Something to pay attention to. Wow.
So you'll like what I did. I sued the bastard.
And
I sued him in state court. I sued the public defender the deputy public defender and his boss in the in-state court.
Oh,
And-
that pissed him off.
well, I'll tell you what, this guy was new to the public defender's office, and we had an event one day after a hearing at the criminal court where we followed each other out, and I told him, this isn't a crime. And I go, that's why you're fired. You can't represent me. You're telling me it's a crime when I know it's not. And we get outside, and I'm go ahead of him, and I turn back and I go, oh, by the way, I know about the secret meetings.
Wow.
His knees buckled. You could see the perspiration coming off his face. Oops. And he started screaming at me, why don't you have another heart attack and die?
Oh my God.
This was right in front of the main jail.
Yeah.
And then he had a nervous breakdown.
Go figure.
So, and now remember, because I'm sitting there, I've already sued him. Okay. Now, why did I sue him? If for nothing else, to create a conflict of interest. Because then I go back to the criminal court. Your Honor, I'm suing him. He's a defendant, but you
certainly had grounds. I mean, there's no way that could have been deflected or deferred. You had the grounds. Unbelievable.
So,
well, listen. Oh,
go ahead.
Ted, we're getting close to wrapping up here. And this has been amazing. I mean, really absolutely amazing to have somebody come on the show and explain to them what the hell they got put through by doing the right thing and trying to traverse on the right path and to end it. And look at how many years of your life were contained in this. I mean, my God, it almost killed you. And you're not, like I said earlier, you're not the first case that I've heard that's been utilized by the system in such a capacity. And it's just horrifying. But what I want in closing is, what advice would you have to an audience, my audience out here, with regard to how, if they find themselves in a similar situation in life, what can you tell them?
Document everything.
Got that, folks?
Okay.
Yeah.
You must have a timeline from day one. Every time something comes up in your life, even if you don't think it's going to go anywhere or it's going to be dropped, don't count on it.
Yeah.
And the other thing, man, I'm at the point where wear a body cam.
Yeah. I like that.
You record everything. Okay.
Yeah, you can legally wear a body cam too, because you can have it. You can use your cell phone to do recording. So, folks, what he's telling you, pay attention to that, because you have that inalienable right to be able to protect and preserve your own your own boundaries, if you will, when you're being approached with a legal situation like this poor guy has been put through. Ted, I got to tell you, man, you got my sympathies. That's one hell of a journey you've been through, and I have known a few other people in my lifetime. Not just my criminal years of life, but my later years of being a pastor and working in communities where people are horribly treated. And these are good and decent people like yourself. But a system is made to work to protect the system. It's not made or designed to protect the individual confronted with the system that we currently find ourselves dealing with. And I really like what you brought to the show today, Ted. And I want to thank you for sharing this story today. I think it was pretty valuable. And I also think that some people will get it. They're going to hear what you had to say and take good advice. But I love what you said just before closing about documenting everything, and truly. And you don't need a body cam if you've got a cell phone, folks. Either one of them will work and do the same exact job. But I really, I agree with that. And I've got a lot of years in investigations myself. I understand just how important it is to be able to validate every single thing that you're presenting before a magistrate in a court of law. So that being said, Ted, I want to thank you so much for being on my show today. Yeah, heck of an interesting fella. I want to wish you the very best with what's going on with you right now. And I know you're a good man, because I know Victor Mojica for 50 years. He's my best friend. And for him to stand up for you, he talked really good about you and really wanted you on the show. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you. And Victor, yes, is a very solid guy. And by the way, my case is open in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. So I appealed the dismissal by a 12B6 motion in the federal court. So I appealed because they're crying they have immunity for what they did to me. And I have the next step in that is the oral argument. Everything's in place. I should prevail in the Ninth Circuit because I'm using the cases they already ruled on that are aligned with mine.
I'm curious about the immunity statute that they're throwing into play here. It doesn't sound to me, based on what you shared, that they have any standing. But maybe we'll have to have you on the show and go on that after that settles.
We need to continue this because they have
absolutely.
Because they had no valid arrest warrant and there is no crime. They never had jurisdiction. They had no standing. So you can't have immunity. Everything they did was under color of law.
Absolutely. Let's definitely wrap it up on another show. I want to hear it. Okay, folks. Well, that wraps up another episode today. And I'd like to take this moment to thank each and every one of you for taking your time to catch our show. Now, if you like these shows, I would ask that you would please hit like, share, and subscribe. It's so important to us that we get these messages out, and we understand that these are graphic, almost toxic interviews. But, this is the kind of impact that we feel is needed in order to make sure that people understand the significance of the problems that we are confronted within our own country and around the globe. So I'm going to say at this time that I love you all. God bless you all. Hasta luego, y vaya con Dios, and go Victors.